Kathryn, and I am about to graduate from seminary, and I'd like to talk a little about a class that I took this semester. It was on immigration issues, and actually a group of students for the class traveled to the border of Arizona and Mexico, and we talked to a lot of churches and community centers about how they're handling the kind of humanitarian crisis that's ensuing because of the wall they're building at the border and because of the crackdown on immigration in the United States. And when we got back from the trip, we had to decide on a project to do. And because I've had an ongoing interest in mental health issues, I decided to look at how, what the realities are around mental health for folks in the Hispanic immigrant community, particularly for people who are undocumented. And I was thinking mostly about the trauma of that journey. We met a number of folks on both sides of the border who were either coming or going back or had been sent back. And what struck me the most about that was how alone a lot of people are and how vulnerable they are because it's illegal and because the Border Patrol has been cracking down. It's become a major human trafficking problem, and so since it's all underground, it's a lot more dangerous. And one story in particular stuck out for me. We were in a city called Altar, and we had visited this incredible center called Kamin that was funded and run by the Catholic Church. And they provided education on how to cross the border, anything from what kinds of shoes to wear, what the temperatures would be like, how long it would take, how to find cactuses to get water out of in case you're dehydrating, all kinds of stuff, because a lot of the folks who are bringing people across the border lie to the folks who are crossing and tell them it'll only be a few hours when actually it's more like 5 days to cross, and so many people are dying when they cross. So the center provided education and also provided food and shelter for people, and it was really amazing. And so after we talked with them, we went to the city square in Altar and started handing out pamphlets to folks, and there were just tons of migrants hanging out on the square, and also tons of what are called coyotes or guides, hoping to pick people up to be able to get their money and take them across. So we started handing out flyers to folks about the center so that they could get some education before they crossed. And we talked to a few people who had been turned back. I don't speak Spanish, but one of the other students was able to speak Spanish, so I stuck with several of the other students spoke Spanish, and so I stuck with one of them. And we talked to a few folks who had been turned back, who knew a little bit about the difficulties of crossing the desert, but who were really appreciative of the information about Kamin. And we noticed one man who was older. He looked like he was probably in his 70s, who was sitting alone on a wall kind of off to the side, and we brought a pamphlet over to him, and the student who spoke Spanish was trying to explain to him and was showing him the pamphlet and was trying to explain to him about this place and all of the stuff that he could have a free place to stay and that he could get food and education and all of this stuff. And he just shook his head, and we realized that first of all, it was pretty obvious that he wasn't literate because he wasn't looking at the flyer like it was meaningful at all to him, and like he was able to discern anything from it. And then we realized we didn't think he understood Spanish, that he probably spoke one of the indigenous languages. I just couldn't believe that this man was here alone in this city, and I just thought he's just walking into a real horror situation, not even being able to communicate. So that was part of the reason, well, that haunted me when I got back, and also made me want to think about how do our systems of care help folks who have made it here, who've gone through that kind of trauma. We probably